Hi everyone, I'm Sophia. Welcome back to my living room and to this last January episode of Sophia Talk. A big thank you yet again to everyone who stuck around and subscribed. I really do appreciate your feedback, and it's lovely to see that there is an appetite for this conversation surrounding mental health. And it's every Wednesday just me dropping a video to spread the word and to try to destigmatize mental health, because I figured if I can talk about things openly, maybe I can encourage other people to do so as well. So back again today, and this episode is called ALGEE, and we'll get to that in a second. But what I hope I've managed to do over the month of January is establish my 4 pillars for Sophia Talk. So the first pillar is mental health, and that is quite basically just what is mental health, because there are so many misconceptions. It's a term that's very misunderstood. And in episode 2, I showed you my little apparatus here, my self-made little contraption, and we spoke all about the continuum of physical health and how the axis of mental health is no different, that we all sit on this axis throughout our lives and we move up and down from good to poor mental health. And it was very important to make sure that people understood that we all have mental health. Mental health is not mental illness. Mental illness is under the umbrella of mental health at the end of the spectrum, but it does not define mental health as a whole. Mental health is all about our overall holistic well-being on a daily basis throughout our lives. Pillar 2 was me reframing mental health for those reasons, really, for the misconception, but also because I think it's really important in this day and age to give people the agency and the autonomy, the understanding that they do have an element of control and power over their own mental health, and to also make them realize that they are to a point accountable as well for their mental health. There's so much discussion around this topic, maybe not so much in Cyprus, but in other countries, that some people do tend to hide behind it, to use it as an excuse. People will throw terms like "I'm depressed" around too flippantly. And what we don't want to do is trivialize the more serious cases of mental illness. So mental empowerment is sitting up and paying attention and telling people that how you live your life, your daily habits, your rituals, your clarity and calm and resilience, which we spoke about in episode 3, will all give you the tools to deal with the challenges of life. And we all have the ability to increase the quality of our life on a daily basis. And this will also help the quality of your relationships, your career, everything that you do in life, and your behaviors and your coexistence within a community. Pillar 3 was taking that acronym ME, mental empowerment, and talking about the beautiful word me, which, much like many of the other taboos, some cultures, would deem it incredibly selfish to talk about yourself or to want to look at me all the time. On the contrary, I think, we'd all be better off if children were taught that it's very important to look after yourself, to care about self, to do the inner work, and to look at our unique circle of ability and check in every so often and think, why did I react that way? Why was I cruel? Why am I angry? Why am I sad? That level of understanding, whether it's on an emotional or a spiritual plane, people need to be thinking about themselves. If we all had more self-care, more self-respect, more self-love and self-acceptance, we would be better equipped, not just to deal with our own challenges, but with those of the people around us. And the 4th pillar is the one we're focusing on more today, and that is mental health conditions, mental illness, mental health disorders. Now, the reason why I always hesitate when I say those things is because, no, I'm not a licensed psychotherapist. And Sophia Talk is intended purely for informational, educational, entertainment purposes. I'm not here to substitute any professional or physician or psychotherapist or life coach. I'm here because I'm passionate about spreading the word. I'm passionate about raising mental health awareness, and I want to destigmatize it by using my voice to make other people know that they are heard and that they matter. So, mental illness, mental health conditions, mental health issues, mental health disorders, you will have heard all of these things. Okay? And the sort of the stigma and the discrimination attached to those terms is something that means a lot of people are not equipped to know how to deal with them. They might panic, or they might treat somebody who owns up to feeling incapable of coping with where they are on the mental health continuum in a way that is not conducive to helping them. I told you, I think in episode 3, that I was codependent. Can't say I'm completely recovered from that. That's something that you live with and that you have to work on a daily basis. But I took it upon myself to fix people. I was the martyr. I was the hero. I was the one who could just swoop in and make everybody feel better. At least that's what I thought. And my way of doing that was by imposing myself, sometimes with an air of superiority that is really not helpful at all. Because what we must understand is that some mental health disorders run in the family. Some people are genetically predisposed to have a mental illness. And when some people are in that dark place, there is no motivation and no words that can help them snap out of it. And I hate it when people say, "What's wrong with you? You've got everything going for you," or "pull your socks up." What we have to realize is that there's a lot of underlying history, environmental conditions, potentially unresolved trauma, hidden at the depth of a lot of mental health conditions. So really the last thing you want to do to somebody who's already feeling down on themselves, who's already troubled by low self-esteem, who already feels worthless or like a burden, is to turn around and tell them, you can't be like this, sort yourself out. You're intelligent, you're beautiful, you're smart. Your life's fantastic. You've got a roof over your head. Why don't you get up and go and exercise? Why don't you eat properly? Why don't you just get out of bed early in the morning? Why don't you sleep earlier? Why don't you change your circles? Why don't you find a new job? It's so irresistible. We've all done it. We've all panicked to try and help somebody that we love by almost throwing suggestions in the hope that it will pass, in the hope that it will just go away, because a lot of people are in denial of the fact that somebody they care about is in such a bad place that they need professional help. And I've made the mistakes. I've made all the mistakes. And I'm here because over the course of Sophia Talk, I want to help other people and prevent them from doing the same thing. Mental Health First Aid Program started in Australia in 2000. It is a tongue twister. And this Mental Health First Aid Program has gone global. And in fact, teachers in the UK, many of them have to have done this program in order to deal with children. And the idea of this Mental Health First Aid Program is to know how to provide initial support when it's needed, to recognize a developing mental health situation, and to be able to prevent an impending mental health crisis. So it is very much designed for the general public and for our community at large. And the signal, the acronym that this program has used to help people deal with that fine line that we referred to in episode 3 is ALGEE, ALGEE. And I'm going to run through this very quickly. A is for approach the person, assess and assist with any crisis. So if somebody's broken down, if somebody's crying, if somebody's throwing a fit, if somebody is clearly at the end of their tether and not coping, you just have to approach and be there. L is for listen and communicate non-judgmentally. And as I said before, that is really hard to do and we don't realize we're doing it. But even just telling someone you'll be fine is passing judgment to them. If somebody's feeling that vulnerable and that sad, if somebody's dealing with major depression or a major manic episode, somebody is high or so drunk that they can't see where they're going, they don't want to hear judgment. They don't want to hear, why have you done that again? They want you to just sit there, be there, and listen. And trying to display empathy by telling somebody, I know I've been there too, also doesn't help most of the time. Let them do the talking. Sit in silence if you have to. Just give them the grace to be able to share if they feel they'd like to, and be there for comfort if they feel they don't want to. G is for give support and information. So you could just say, I'm here if you need me, I'll be next door, here's my number, just text me any time of the day. And of course, information might just be a case of, I don't know exactly what you're feeling. I can't tell you that I've experienced this before, but there's a brilliant book that I've read, or could you perhaps, would you like, just offer up options and just make sure that there is information specific to whatever it is that they're going through in that precise moment that you offer it to them. And the first E is for encourage the person to get appropriate help. So if somebody says, I can't do this anymore, I can't cope anymore, then say, would you like me to get you the number of a psychotherapist? I know someone who's really good. You'll love them. They're so good to talk to. They're very relatable. I wouldn't mind taking you. It could be a case of leaving a flyer with a list of AA meetings in their community, or even just telling them, did you know that there are AA meetings or NA meetings that you can attend? Or there are support groups if you'd like to go and talk to other people who are experiencing something similar. It doesn't have to be a mental health illness. Somebody could be experiencing a loss. Somebody could have lost a parent and are unable to get out of bed in the mornings, and they've never been in such a dark place before. How can you offer support? By approaching, listening, giving support, encouraging them to get appropriate help. And the last D is encourage other supports. So you might, even though you have to tread carefully because it's confidential, you might want to reach out to their closest person, a sibling, a partner, a friend, and just say, you know, so-and-so isn't doing really well today. Maybe you should just check in next week, or maybe you should just drop them a message tonight and let them know that you're thinking of them, or just don't refer to it, just drop them a text and tell them that you'll be at home chilling and watching TV tonight if they want to come round. So ALGEE is something that all of us can use before handing over to the appropriate professional on this mental health continuum. And we must also remember that we shouldn't be too hard on ourselves either. We will sometimes be in a position where we're not coping, and when we can identify that we can't get out of bed for whatever reason, or that there's something not quite right, we're not coping with our anxiety, we're losing it at work, we're upsetting people, we're angry, we're feeling violent, whatever it is, we're drinking too much, we're too dependent on a person, we're in a toxic relationship, whatever it is, if we think we can't cope, if managing this on our own on a daily basis isn't working, there is always someone available to help and support us. All we have to do is ask. Thank you so much, everybody. And let's make February a good one. I think February we're going to go down the me route. I want to talk a little bit about our holistic well-being and healthy habits that we can create to live a better and a more fulfilled life so that our mental health is in a better state every day. See you next time for another episode of Sophia Talk.